Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel where we talk all things finance and investing. Today's video, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive as part of a two-part series on a couple of T Rowe Price articles around how much you should have saved for retirement at a particular age. There's plenty of data out there that shows people in the US, UK, Canada, and other countries have saved nowhere near enough that they're gonna need to maintain an adequate standard of living in the retirement age. And that's for retirements that could last around 30 years. So this could be a bit of a crisis that's coming where people are just not prepared enough. So I thought, let's address it in today's video. There are a couple of good reports that they put out, T Rowe Price, the fund manager that is. Let's get into it. We'll learn a little bit about how much you need to save for your retirement depending on your age. Okay, so here's the report that T Rowe Price has put out, and they did this in November 2024. As you can see here, what percentage of my income should I save for retirement? So that is the report done by Roger Young, a certified financial planner. So a couple of key insights. First off, right into the meat of it, most investors should save at least 15% of their income for retirement. So this is on the back of some of the work that they've done in this report and another report which I'll probably feature next week. Okay, so 15% is the headline number for them. Your age, income, and current savings can help gauge how much you should save going forward. Absolutely correct, and we'll get into that in this video. Okay, I've highlighted a few bits and pieces before we get into the main table here. Ultimately, many people rely on two sources to fund their retirement, and that's their personal retirement savings, things like a 401k in the US, a workplace pension, or SIP as it's known for a personal pension in the UK, a RRSP, for example, in Canada. You'll want to save enough personal savings to support a retirement that could last 30 years or more. And remember, there's still, in addition, you're going to have Social Security in the US or state pension in the UK and government pension in Canada as well added onto your personal retirement savings. So a couple of things. When you're trying to figure out how much you need to save for retirement, one of the key things that you need to look at right off the bat, perhaps unsurprisingly, is how much do you already have saved? And of course, this depends on where you're at. If you're in your 20s, you're probably starting out, and in fact, you probably don't have any money saved, and your net worth might actually be negative. Net worth being just the assets that you have minus the liabilities. So you may not have anything and you might even be in the negative. Okay, so how much do you already have saved is a big factor in this. And then determining on how much you need to save, well, generally speaking, most investors should be saving, and this includes any company contributions, according to T Rowe Price, at least 15% of their income to stay on target at various ages. So what does that look like in this table that they've put together? Okay, so let's look at this table here. As you can see, percentage of income you may need to save depending on your current age. Now they've started at age 30, but before we talk about that in terms of age 30, let's talk about the 20s. What about the 20s? A lot of you watching are in your 20s, and to me, the 20s is actually a key, if not the most important time of your life in terms of preparation for your savings and investment goals overall, retirement or otherwise. Why? Because this is where you're starting out in your career. Maybe you finished your studies, university, you're getting going in your career. You're now starting to earn some money. And the spending and saving and habits that you develop in your 20s, I think are going to set you on the path one way or another. And that is ultimately down to you. But if you're focusing now and you're watching this video in your 20s and you want to learn how to budget correctly, how to save money correctly, get information on how much you should be saving, well done to you. You've already taken a big first step. But a couple of things you want to think about. If you're just getting started in your 20s, your first few paychecks are coming in, you want to get up a little bit of an emergency fund start in case you lost your job. Maybe you entered the wrong job. In your 20s, it's all about just finding out what you're good at, what your skill sets are, which direction do you want to go. You don't know all of this stuff automatically when you come out of university or whatever education, schooling that you've done. So part of it is pretty experimental, but at the same side, you want to have a little bit of a buffer zone in case you lost your job or some sort of an emergency come up. Maybe you entered a job that you were missold because you don't know how these things sort of work already. or maybe you absolutely hate the job and you just want out of it, but you need cash to give you that flexibility. So start building up some emergency funds first. You want 1 to 3 months salary saved up in a savings account quickly that you can access if you need so. Now, once that's done, now you can get into start thinking about how you're prepping for your retirement. Okay. By the way, just because you're in your 20s doesn't mean you should not be thinking of your retirement planning. Absolutely not. Another reason why the 20s is so crucial is because you've got time on your side. A couple of good decisions, a couple of right decisions in your 20s, and it can be an absolute game changer for you 100%. If I could go back to when I was in my 20s, I mean, I was pretty interested in this stuff and took this stuff seriously then, but a few other tweaks and I could have went on an even better path than I went on for sure. So don't think that retirement planning is something that you shouldn't be thinking about in your 20s. I know it seems so far away, 30, 40 years down the road. You've only been alive maybe 22 years. It can seem miles and miles ahead. Don't let that cloud your judgment. Many people do. I've seen it many times. Don't let that get in the way. Save and take advantage of your employer contributions, your company match, anything you could do to get to your savings goals in retirement. Okay, so let's get back into this table here. And as we can see, they're starting off in the 30s. Now, a couple of general rules of thumb that I have heard when it comes to retirement saving is, depending on when you start, it's going to depend on how much you should invest as part, or how much you should save for your retirement based on your age. So for example, a rough rule generally can be you need to put away a percentage that is half the age of when you start. So if you start saving for retirement at 20 years old, then you would only need to put in 10% for the rest of your working life. But if you start at 30 years old, then you would need to put in 15% of your gross annual income for the rest of your working life in order to have a comfortable retirement. And when we look at this is exactly what we see here. If your current age is 30 and the 0 times means that you have 0 saved up now, then you would need to put away 15%. Okay? Now what T Rowe Price has done here, what they're saying with the 1X that you see marked off, if you've got already 1 times your annual income in your savings for retirement, which is a very good job done. So if you're earning $50,000, £50,000, whatever, and by the time you're 30, you've already got that same amount in your retirement, well, guess what? You only need to put 12% of your gross annual income away into your retirement for the rest of your working life to be comfortable in your retirement. Now, if you've somehow managed to get up to twice your gross annual income by the time you're 30, then you only need to do 8%. You see how the numbers start going down. But let's say you're 35 or 40 even, and you've not got anything away. Look, you're going to need to put away 20% of your earnings in order to have a comfortable retirement, and you'll need to do that for the rest of your working life. But if you've got 1 times, you could do 17%, twice you could do 13%. The numbers start to go down. Look what happens at age 50. If you're 50 years old and you do not have at least 1 year's gross annual income in your retirement account, you're going to need to start saving 30% of your earnings for the rest of your life to try and get to a comfortable retirement. So the main takeaway here should be extremely clear to anyone watching this. The earlier you start, the better it's going to be for you, the easier it's going to be for you. And this is why I think in your 20s, it's so important to get started. Okay? Because as you go later and start funding or start saving later, the more you're going to have to be putting in. So the key here absolutely is to start earlier. Now, some other people like Dave Ramsey in the US, for example, with part of his Baby Steps program, I've heard, he recommends a 15% savings rate as well. But where he differs is he says, well, if your employer is willing to contribute 3, 4, 5, even 10%, then that should just be added on top. In other words, you should be saving 15% of your income, and then all these other bits and pieces from your employer, for example, are just additional savings. So bear that in mind. I'm of the opinion, personally, you should be putting away the absolute maximum you can afford in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, particularly in your 20s, because the more you get in then, the more time it has to compound. And compounding will work wonders over the years. I've done a video recently on why saving your first 100K is so difficult, but getting from 100K to $1 million is actually quite easy. I'll put a link to that in the description. Watch that so you can see the power of compounding. So that's my video on the T Rowe Price article on how much you should be saving to ensure an adequate retirement. If you like the video, why not click on the like, subscribe, hit that subscribe button if you've not already done so. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think about this video, any other videos you would like me to see. I've got 20 years experience in the financial markets. Happy to share any of it and all with you if you'd like to see something in particular. By the way, if you're curious about what you should be investing in or what I invest in my savings and my retirement account, I actually did a video on this recently called My One Fund Portfolio. So if you'd like to see that, put a link right here. Just click on this link up here, My One Fund Portfolio. I'll see you over there. Looking forward to seeing you there. And as always, I wish you all the best in your savings and investment journey.